It started at school, and we had physics, and my first test in physics was a disaster. Completely, I failed, and then I found out it needs some work, and so I started to work. And so, if you look at a subject, you get more and more interested in it, and so. At the end of my high school years, it was clear for me that I should go into physics. I started out on nuclear physics for my PhD. Then later it was an atomic physics problem, and now I'm even in plasma physics, high energy density physics. But I also got interested into astrophysical problems like the problem of dark matter, where I'm associated with an experiment at CERN, and I think this is also one of the very interesting topics at the moment. What is dark matter? You know, the subject of this conference is energy fluxes and radiation effects, and so there is a wide range of parameters for the energy fluxes and what happens to matter. So I'm interested in the properties of matter at very extreme conditions. In my talk, I started out with the interior of the sun, where you have extreme temperatures and extreme pressures, and fusion reactions take place. And actually, I was motivated to look into the properties of matter, to do something to fusion, and so this started my interest in high energy density physics. Of course, there is always a change, but first of all, the topics that people are interested change, and over all the history of mankind we see that there is a progress in science, and this has not changed. Mm-hmm. What has changed? Maybe what I'm now saying is because I'm an old man, and I think in the earlier times everything was better, even the future was better. But what has changed is the administrative workload on the scientists. When I started out, it was possible to get a reasonable research grant when you just described on 2 pages, and then you could talk to someone who was knowledgeable and said, okay, this is interesting, we give you the money. And today, well, I was talking about the project at GSI. We wrote 700 pages and for 700 million euro. So today this was one page per million. So it was a book like this. And then you have this administrative business of measuring the impact of science. Mm-hmm. And there I think we professors also made a big mistake by judging our young scientists by how many papers and where did you publish, and so the scientific achievement is now measured in one number, and I think this is not good. This is not good for science. I do not have a solution to this, but one should also rely on some experts. You know, for an experiment, sometimes it's necessary that you work for years and years to set up an experiment. You cannot publish in this time, but then your experiment starts, and then people want to have publications from you every year, mm-hmm. there I think one has to be a little bit more careful, and less publication would be better. So there was a review in the United States by the National Science Foundation, and they came up with that matter under high energy density is one of the most important subjects. And I think when we look at what will be presented on this conference, it's also the material modification. This will change probably our everyday life in many respects. So you start with some basic problems, and then after some time applications develop, and the field that is discussed here on this conference has a wide range of applications that will be important for us, for our industry, and for our everyday life. I think usually a scientist is not in the first place thinking of an application. He has a problem, or she has a problem to think about it, and you want to solve it. You want to measure something. You measure what you can measure, and what you cannot measure, you try to develop something that you can measure. So this is physics and science, and inevitably there are applications. All our governments, of course, ask us what is it good for. And of course you have to come up with some ideas where it is good for. But anyway, in my mind, scientists must have some freedom to work outside funded projects to develop their ideas, and then also the applications will benefit most from scientists that have freedom in research.